Can we please be seated to get the meeting going? I'd like to welcome everyone to Lowell City Hall tonight. Tonight's the City Council Subcommittee for the partnership, the education partnership with the University of Lowell. And tonight's meeting is for the update from Chancellor Meehan on projects at UMass Lowell. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilor Kennedy.
Here.
Chairman Laurie.
Here.
Councilor Madonza.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
4 present.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to just acknowledge who's here tonight. City Manager Bernie Lynch, City Councilor Bill Martin's in attendance from the university, Vice Chancellor Skramsky. I see Vice Chancellor McCafferty, Paul Marion, and
I'm going to have them.
Patty.
I'm going to have them introduce themselves.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I think basically what I'd like to do is present ongoing projects that we have going on with the city. I made a similar presentation to our working group with the city manager and the planners from the city and our folks at the university, but I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to start by having the folks from the university introduce themselves so councilors would know whose responsibility is if there are issues and you want to call people directly that you would know who's who. And we'll start with Joanne Yastrzemski.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Joanne Yastrzemski. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Finance and Operations. So I do have facilities reporting to me all these numbers of projects that we have in construction. Also, campus police and safety, human resources, the finance operations, HR operations, and administrative operations.
Thank
Next.
you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Tom Dreyer, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Facilities Management. I have the responsibility for construction, maintenance, repair, utilities, and the like.
Hi, I'm Beth Rubenstein, Director of Campus Planning, and I'm involved in some of the capital projects that you're going to see tonight, and also transportation planning and working with the city.
Hi, I'm Gretchen von Grossman. I'm Assistant Director of Campus Planning, also involved in the capital projects and the transportation planning.
Hi, I'm Patty McCafferty, Vice Chancellor of University Relations.
I'm Paul Marion, Executive Director of Community and Cultural Affairs.
Patty Coffey, Assistant Director of Community and Cultural Affairs.
Thank you very much. And before we start, I'd like to acknowledge just a couple more people. Assistant to the City Manager, Henry Marchand, is here tonight. City Engineer, Lisa DeMeo. And I saw the Mayor, who will probably be walking in a second. Thank you.
Right. I'd like to, before I start, I want to wish Councilor Mercia a very happy Valentine's Day before we get going. Let's start with our campus, which is an evolving campus, as all of you know. The blue that you see here, those are the present buildings that we have. We have recent acquisitions. Is it too far away to? Recent acquisitions would be the Tsongas Center, University Crossing, as well as the UMass Lowell Inn and Conference Center. New construction projects that we're going to get into. We have an Aiken Street Residence Hall, the Health and Social Sciences Building. We have the Emerging Technologies and Innovation Center that are on the North Campus. As you know, there's going to be a new bridge that's going to go over the Merrimack River. So that essentially is our campuses. Now, the North Campus is where there's a focus of science, technology, and engineering. The South Campus is on the other side of the river, where there's social sciences, music. And then the East Campus is primarily where most of the residence halls are. We have set up a strategic plan at the university that involved 200 employees that included students, faculty, administrators, and basically this is a plan for how we intend to grow over the next decade. The idea behind this is to increase our stature as a nationally ranked U.S. News & World Report, by the way, 2 years ago, for the first time, ranked the University of Massachusetts in the top tier of public research institutions in the country, and we went up 11 points this past year. So we have an overall academic strategy to increase the stature of the university and also to increase our growth and become a world-class, internationally known institution. We're going to build on the tradition of the university, but also important to us is renewing and modernizing the campus. In implementing that strategic plan, remember we acquired the UMass Lowell and Conference Center, which has been successful at drawing a connection between the university and downtown. The Tsongas Arena, that is now the Tsongas Center, I think has gone extremely well. It took $1 million or so off of the deficit off of the city, and we developed the city still gets revenue from the parking. We've had more sold-out shows. We hired a new management company, and I think generally it's going pretty well. I think most of the councilors have been in to that building. I will say that we emailed all the councilors. We're going to have a reception for the outgoing head of the National Park Service, Michael Creasy, on Friday at the Tsongas Center at the Talon Club. I have invitations here, but we want to invite all of you not only to that reception, but our number 6 ranked hockey team is playing Boston University. We're first in Hockey East and they're second, so it should be a good game. So I'd like to invite all the councilors to that. I want to go over some of the new construction projects and also the other new facilities that we have, and I'd like to start with the North Campus. This is Emerging Technologies and Innovation Center and the North Campus Garage and the Manning School of Business. As you know, the Emerging Technologies and Innovation Center is going to open in the fall. The new parking garage is presently under construction, and the Manning School of Business, we expect to tear down Ames Hall on the North Campus and begin construction in July of 2013. I think most of you know that this is a cutting-edge research building. We're working with approximately 50 companies in the region now, companies that when you try to get the clean lab, high bay lab space that we're going to have, it's too expensive for small companies to get. So we're collaborating with a number of companies, and they're going to use this facility. We believe that there's an opportunity for spin-off companies that will result as they'll come about as a result of research that's conducted there. We have an expertise in plastics engineering, nanotechnology, biotechnology. This is going to be a fabulous research building. You see some of the other companies, larger companies that we're dealing with. We're dealing with Raytheon there, Advanced Polymers, Boston Scientific. But it's been a great project, and we've also raised well over $10 million privately on this particular project. The North Campus Garage is a 650 spaces in the garage. It's next to Costello Gym. We have an attractive metal panel facade that is actually going to be the image of the Merrimack River and visible from the VFW highway. If that doesn't come out perfect, I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to blame, but it's going to be interesting to see how it comes out. This obviously is because we have a parking crisis, but I think what it also adds is it gets automobiles out of the neighborhoods, and one of the things we hear from the neighborhoods is we want to reduce the number of cars that are in the neighborhood. But it's going to be a beautiful parking garage. That's a $20 million garage that we are borrowing. We will pay back based on fees, parking fees for students. I always like to point out that most of the projects that we have ongoing are projects that we're borrowing on, and it's part of our business model that we have. We added something here, the feasibility of access. We had a meeting last night with residents from the Pawtuckaville area, and one of the issues that one of the many issues that residents are concerned about is how to get 650 people out of that garage. And one of the things that we're talking about and we'll work with the city on is the feasibility of getting VFW access by something other than University Avenue, where the traffic is really, really difficult. In other words, could we come around and go out this way and have a new way to get out of onto the VFW highway, which I've talked to the manager and the planners about it, and maybe Mr. Manager can.
Yeah, it's, the Chancellor was just saying that we've had some meetings regarding this issue. As you know, the University Ave, in the middle of the campus there is continually a source of congestion and results in a lot of cut-through traffic throughout that entire neighborhood. And this is something we're hearing from many of the neighborhood people, and I think the Chancellor has heard that as well. So we're looking at some different options, and the one that seems to make the most sense is some type of access off of VFW onto Spark Street that would then allow people to get in that way as opposed to going on University Ave, and that would, we think, solve many of our traffic problems in that area.
The other thing I want to say, please stop me as I make the presentation, because I'd rather be interrupted when you think of something that you want to ask, so we'll get through. Go ahead.
No, thank you very much. I was just going to ask if any member of the subcommittee has any questions at the moment or any comments.
Yeah, you can stop me during the presentation at any point in time.
Okay, thank you.
So this garage is going to be ready and complete by the fall of 2012, so that's going to go up pretty quickly. The Manning School of Business is going to be the new home for our business school. We are increasing the quality of our business program. We have a business program that's going to focus on entrepreneurship, and this building is actually going to be a complement to the research building, the innovation, the ETIC building, because it's going to focus on business and it's going to focus on innovation, and it will be a great match. One of the things we're looking to do is develop more professional master's programs. This business school is a great opportunity for us. We've raised $10 million for this building. We're seeking more money from the state to bond on this. It's a 65,000 square foot building, and we hope, as I mentioned earlier, we hope to be able to begin construction in July of 2013. This will be a beautiful building with a trading desk on the floor, and we hope that it'd be something that we would open up to the community so that the community could come in and get a sense of how trading exists and how the financial markets work. So it's an exciting project for us. Next, we go to the East Campus. As we mentioned, this is the East Campus. In here, it's where most of our dining facilities are. This is Pawtucket Street, the main street. We're going to develop more bikeways. Again, that's something we're working with the city to find a way to develop alternative modes of transportation. And in all of the research that's been done, Jeff Speck that did a presentation, the university and the city want to develop more opportunities for biking. Fox Hall is our major dorm. That's a high-rise. We put $12 million into that dorm 2 years ago to add beds on campus, and now we're renovating the dining hall, and it's a great project. And then we have the Aiken Street Residence Hall. Aiken Street Residence Hall is a project that not a lot of folks know about, but it's a new residential structure, and the first one that the university has built since 1989. It's going to be 472 cutting-edge suite-style rooms. We have designed this building with the study by Jeff Speck in mind in terms of how it's going to lay out, what it's going to look like. There's going to be an open courtyard. This is right on our lot that's next to our recreation center, sort of diagonally across from LaLasha Ballpark. We had something called M2D2 that was there, and we have torn that building down and we're beginning construction. Now, just in terms of what our strategy here is, we want to add more beds on campus. By the fall of 2013, we expect to add 1,000 beds. And when I came to UMass Lowell, it was a 75% commuter school. Now we're at about 60-40. This should bring us to about 50-50. And frankly, once we get to 50-50, we're going to want to get it up to 60%. Why do we want to do it? Because students statistically who live on campus have a higher likelihood that they're going to graduate within 4 or 5 years. They're more likely to be successful. In competing for higher quality students, we need to provide high quality housing in order to attract them. The last point that I would make about housing is that every study that's been done over the last decade or two on housing in Lowell suggests that the university should try to get more housing to bring students off city housing and bring them into the university community. That's in our interest. We think it's in the city's interest, and we will continue to build housing on our campus for our students. It also increases the likelihood that students will enjoy their experience at Lowell. And this housing is as good as any housing anywhere. The other point that I would make, if a student comes to UMass Lowell, we think that they're entitled to the best housing that's available. And this is going to be cutting-edge, suite-style housing. Again, we're borrowing, this is approximately a $53 million project that we're borrowing on. We pay it back by the fees that students pay to live in our housing. Fox dining, you know, it's interesting. A lot of people, students decide where they want to go to school for a lot of different reasons, but believe it or not, what kind of food courts you have and what kind of dining facilities you have a lot to do with whether somebody decides they're going to come to UMass Lowell. We've made improvements, we're getting more national brands in, but this is a project that we had to do because we want to have a cutting-edge dining facility. This will open the fall of 2012, and it will be as nice a dining facility as there is in any private university. Wanted to go into the South Campus a little bit. You see our Main Street there. We have two major projects, the Health and Social Sciences building and a South Campus garage, as said. Yes? Ed?
Marty, I would like to see a lot more students living toward, as close to the downtown as is reasonable. But at the same, and so I'm pro dorms. The more dorms you can build and the quicker you can build them, I think the better. At the same time, those dorms, if they're publicly owned, end up being tax exempt dorms, and so they come off. It doesn't help the city in that way as far as the tax base goes. So the Aiken Street, is that leased, or is that going to be owned by the university?
No, it presently is owned by the university. That's our property. We had a research building there. We took the research building down and we're building the dorm. We own property on the East Campus that we could potentially build dormitories. As counselors know, we entered into we have had a long effort to build housing, private housing, on the South Campus. It's a project I think will move forward. Remember, it was one that initially the Attorney General said that that we shouldn't build it because we had to build it through Chapter 140. The Superior Court ruled that we could build it that way because, again, there's no state money involved. It's totally paid for with private funds. And then it went to the SJC, and the SJC sort of made a ruling that was somewhere in the middle. We've come to an agreement, and we believe that we'll be able to build that. That will be private housing. We're open to building, to having housing being built privately, but if it's required that the housing that's built is going to cost as much as what it costs to build, for us to build it publicly, then there's a question of what it's going to cost. This is strictly based on how much we can get beds for per bed, because students pay 100% of the cost. So we're all for more housing closer to downtown. We're all for private, because we don't have to put on a debt balance sheet. One of the reasons why we like the Marginal Street project is because that's $55 million. It isn't on our debt sheet. So we're open to that. It's just a matter of finding the right projects. Some of the projects, and I've been through, I feel as though almost every major building downtown where there are openings, and we want to try to do that, but sometimes old mill buildings or some of the buildings, economically it's really difficult to rehab some of the properties. The property, for example, where the Dunkin' Donuts is now, right in downtown. It's a beautiful, big building, but we went through that, and the cost of making that into beds is really expensive. So we're open to that. We want to do that. It's just a matter of finding opportunities.
If I could just add to the city council, I think it was last year or the year before, revised or put in place an ordinance that allows for the private development of dormitory housing in the city. So again, I agree with the councilor that anything we can do to get the private sector generating beds for the university students is positive for the city.
So You mentioned earlier in your presentation that you were adding 1,000 beds. So if there's 472 or whatever on Aiken Street, then the rest of them will be on Marshall Street?
Yes.
That's right?
Yeah.
Okay, but you're hoping to add another 1,000 in the near future?
We would like to, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's, just to reiterate what the manager just said, that it would be, I think that we should try to work with the university to make sure that that those new dorms end up being leased dorms that are privately owned rather than university dorms if we can. But I think, you know, the more dorms, the better, I think, for downtown. I mean, I've been down in New Bedford where they have, where UMass Dartmouth has a school right in the downtown, and it's made a big difference in their downtown. Yep. They have a pretty vibrant downtown, and I don't think that New Bedford is doing as well as Lowell is in many areas, but as far as the central business district, their central business district, I think, is more vibrant than ours at this point.
Yeah, we've found just, for example, with the ICC, having 500 students that are down there in addition to the other activity there are more people downtown and it creates a better environment. But again, it's a matter of trying to figure out how to build dorms with zero state money involved. I mean, it's all based on what kind of a package can we put together, how much, and what the eventual cost will be to students. But we're, having a situation where we don't have to incur debt is definitely an advantageous position for us.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Chancellor, is your microphone on? Oh, it is, I see the light. Thank you.
Okay. This is our new Health and Social Sciences building. This building is a $40 million building, and this is a building that is being paid for, bonded by the state, which the governor and the legislature provided us the funding for. It's the first time in 35 years that the state has actually paid 100% of an academic, any building actually, on our campus. It's going to house nursing, psychology, and criminal justice. Many of you have seen that going up on the South Campus. We're obviously excited about this. It's going to open early in 2013. We hope it'll open by January because that's when our semester starts, and it doesn't help us if it opens in February because we can't schedule classes there. So we have a lot of requests for classes to be in this building starting in January, but it's a fabulous building for us on the South Campus. We're also going to build a South Campus garage. Again, this will add 700 spaces. We feel as though we need to do it. Again, it's a positive for the neighborhood. If we look at how we're going to grow in the future, we're probably going to grow faster on South Campus than we do on North Campus. So that is an artist rendering of what we would build. And again, this is on the lot we already have. It's the old, what used to be the GE lot. So we're excited about that project. This is the marginal way housing that we talked about. This has been an ongoing challenging. And the other point I would make about, if you look at the legal impediments that we've gone through here, I mean, this thing has been at it for 3 years. I'm an impatient person by nature, and waiting 3 years for this is not something, it's another thing, Ed, it's an impediment sometimes to having something done privately, in spite of the fact we want to. There are a lot of impediments to it legally in this state to getting it done. However, we are getting there in this, and we expect that this will be completed in 2013. This overhang will go over the railroad tracks on the other side, and we're obviously very excited about this project. I'm going to ask Beth. You did such a good job last night with the Pawtuckettville Residents Association that I'm going to ask you to come over here and. Beth is a planner that we got from the City of Cambridge, has done a great job for us, so I'm going to ask you to make this presentation.
Great. Terrific. Thanks, Chancellor. A little over a year ago, we decided that it was time to take a comprehensive look at our transportation systems. We decided right from the get-go, we kind of had a hunch that the solutions that we were going to come up with were going to involve a lot of cooperation with the City of Lowell. So we folded in some folks from the city, Adam Bakey, Lisa DeMeo, and others, folks in the police department, to help us really throughout every step of the way. Looking at transportation for us is really about being a good neighbor, figuring out ways to get cars off the streets for our neighbors, and also it's really part of our commitment to being a more sustainable institution. It's an interesting little statistic that when you look at greenhouse gas emissions, which is a measurement that's often used, more than a third of our emissions come from transportation, and that's mostly commuting, which isn't surprising because we have traditionally been a commuter school, and a lot of the faculty and staff also drive to get to school. So really our goals going in were to think about new and better ways to get people to and from campus, and also to think about how people travel during the day between the campuses, because we had a hunch that some of the traffic was really due to those trips where a couple of people on South Campus have a meeting on North Campus and 3 people get in 3 cars and drive over, and we wanted to kind of look into that and see if we could do better. Good news of the study is that, no surprise to anybody here, Lowell is a compact city, and even though I think people have an image of the university as being spread out, you know, as these things go, it's not so spread out. A lot of college campuses have distances where students are asked to walk a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, so the relative compactness is an advantage. We also found when we dug through some of the data, we actually have a fair amount of data on folks because when you get a parking pass, the university gets your address, so we were able to code people by addresses, not by name, and see, you know, who lives where. And a little bit surprising, we found that about 8% of faculty, employees, and students live within a mile of school. It's close. Another 21% are within 3 miles, which for some folks is a biking distance, maybe even a walking distance. And then another 3% are within a very short distance to one of the LRTA bus routes. So that says to us there's a good chunk of folks right there that in the right weather might choose another mode. And we always say, you know, in the transportation business, if you can get somebody to do something one day different other than driving 1 day a week, that's a 20% reduction in your travel. So that's the way we're trying to start thinking. Just to kind of cut to the chase, the study that we all worked on really came up with sort of 4 areas of improvement. And the first one's probably the most interesting to the City Council: infrastructure improvements. Together, we looked at a number of key intersections and crosswalks and said, gee, you know, if working together, the university and the city, we could make some signal timing changes, some crosswalk painting, some, you know, relatively modest changes, we really could create an environment where it would be easier to walk. And I know the chancellor used to ask me, when are you going to make it a little easier for me to walk from Allen House over on South over to the rec center? And that's really one of our goals. The second bullet, we call demand management. That's that whole array of things where you get people to, whether it's through incentives, through programs like Share the Ride, introducing van pool service to key communities. If we find we have a knot of people who live in a certain area of Dracut or Burlington, and we think that putting in a shuttle there might get a bunch of people not to drive to campus, we might look into that and invest in that. A lot of it's about doing the research to find out what'll get people, including students, to give up their cars. We've even thought about things like if the students say, well, I want a car because I want to go to the Burlington Mall, or I want to get up to Nashua on the weekend, we might be able to look into that through survey research, and we could sponsor a trip up to Nashua. Anything that gets a student not to bring a car or not to use it as often is good, I think, for all of us. The third area,
Excuse me, I just want to say, I believe the university did develop a bike plan for at least the students and maybe the faculty, where they could take the bike and ride from one campus to the other, leave it there, and...
I'm so glad you asked about that. That's something we started last year for the first time, and the good news is we're going to do it again this spring, and through the help of Patty McCafferty's office and others, we branded it, we called it UML Freewheelers, and it was exactly what you said, Counselor. You could pick up a bike. We had them on north, south, and east. We didn't start with the ICC. We just thought we'd see how it went. First day, we put 5 bikes in each place. Then we kind of just watched to see what would happen. First day those bikes were out, all of a sudden they'd be gone. They'd be over here. Then you go, they were gone there, and they were here. So the students really took to it. And when you consider that the distance from east over to south is about a mile is not a long bike ride. And of course, in a winter like this, we probably didn't even need to take them in, but who knew that was going to be the case? So that's exactly the kind of thing. And you know what? When we talk to the students about it, they love it.
You know, I also serve on the board of the Northern Middlesex County of Governments, and there's a plan being developed. They actually want to make a bike path from Nashua, New Hampshire to the ocean along the
Wow.
Merrimack. So that might be something that could be built right in with the college with 3 dorms, or with
That'd be
3
great.
campuses right on the river.
That would be great. And it's interesting, well, we supplied bikes last year, and we're going to do it again through our Dean of Students office. What we really hope, I mean, we're not really in the providing bike business, we really hope they'll bring their own bikes from home. You'll leave your car at home, bring your bicycle. Third bullet there, parking management. That's, you know, we charge for parking inside the university community. It's a way of letting people know that it's not a free resource, and that's part of managing the issue. And then finally, the whole area of policy. This Park Once thing is something you hear about when we read about other campuses around the country that have a similar challenge where people commute in. Ideally, you get folks to park on the periphery and say, come to school, park once, and then just leave it alone for the day. Take the shuttle. Faculty, administrator, take the shuttle bus. Walk downtown for lunch. You know, bring your lunch money downtown. So those are some of the ideas. And we really look forward to getting into implementation, working with the city.
Great, thank you very much, Beth. Next, University Crossing, the former St. Joseph's Hospital. We are looking at this as a student engagement center. We're going to have a lot of our sort of one-stop administrative offices that are going to be there, and we're excited about this. We're going to have consolidate our bookstores and have a bookstore there, and also whether it's Panera Bread, we're going to have dining there that would open to the public, as well as we hope this bookstore will be very much a public bookstore as well. This is a great project for us because of the new bridge coming over the Merrimack. The university, as you know, has always been interested in acquiring this property, and there have been a lot of impediments to acquiring it. But we're able to get it. It's in between our campuses, so strategically it makes sense. It makes sense from a city perspective because, frankly, there was not really going to be much development there. Historically has not been a tax-producing property. But it's right there where the new bridge comes over the Merrimack. So we have 2 of the buildings that we're in the process of improving or renovating. We have 3 other buildings, the buildings in the front, that will be more costly if we try to renovate them than it would be to take them down and to start over again. So we will be demolishing the front buildings and building a new building there, which would be, yep.
You mentioned the bridge, the new bridge, and there's been some discussion, and I know that you've had discussions about the existing bridge and what's going to happen and whether or not that could be reused as a pedestrian bridge or something like that. And what is the likelihood that the university would be able to participate or to maintain or to pay for the pedestrian bridge?
We had a couple of things. First is we had a meeting with the Department of Transportation recently where they presented, this is on the bridge. They presented what the new bridge is going to be, and by the way, it's going to be a fabulous bridge. There are walkways on both sides of the bridge. There are 2 bikeways on the bridge. It's going to be a very wide, beautiful bridge that will encourage bikes, encourage more pedestrian traffic. What they also told us at this particular presentation was that the new bridge already hooks into where the old bridge is. In other words, for all of the talk and dialogue, the folks from the Department of Transportation have said you can't keep the old bridge up because the new bridge goes right into where the old bridge was. We had been looking at the possibility. Jim Peters and others had talked about us looking at the possibility of trying to have it as a green space or walkway. The challenges for that is that it also would be costly. The estimates that we get from the Department of Transportation are that they're taking this bridge down because it's not structurally sound. Most of the money that we get at the university comes from students. It would be real. I couldn't justify taking student fee monies to try to keep up a bridge, for example. So it looks like it's beyond the city or the university's control here. It looks like there's no way that could be preserved at this point. And that's after we had this presentation, all of us and members of the delegation were there, we all looked at each other and said, what sounds like, and they've already spent millions of dollars to lay in the other end of the bridge, the north side of the bridge. So it's not like they're going to turn around on that.
In the St. Joseph's Hospital building, is that something that, will a portion of that be demolished? Or, I mean, hospitals are difficult to retrofit, so what are your plans for that? Maybe
Yeah.
you were in the middle of that one.
Three of the buildings are going to come down, and we're going to take them down in as soon as the academic year is over. So probably in June, we will take them. We'll take them down, and we will build a new structure. This is something about. We're not sure exactly what it will look like, but it will have all of these. It'll basically be a student center, and on the first floor out here will be a bookstore and a dining area, which hopefully would be the type of place where the public would come in. We're working with and talking with folks in the neighborhood to try to provide some space that would be open to folks in the Upper East Merrimack area. So that our police department is also located there, and we want that to be an even more visible location.
Could I just ask one other thing? Just to go back to the bridge, the old bridge for a second, that's a memorial bridge dedicated to war veterans, I think university war veterans. And so when that bridge is removed, that memorial will be gone. Does the university have any plans, or would the university be interested in continuing that memorial in some other fashion other than the bridge?
Yeah, actually, the city and I have, the manager and I have had a discussion at our last meeting about trying to figure out some way, A, to honor those veterans who had served, and B, also to highlight the fact that this is a bridge that Jack Kerouac wrote about, maybe have some kind of marker dedicated to Kerouac. And my sense is, I won't speak for the manager, my sense is that we feel that we could work together to come up with a proper fitting memorial, both to the veterans but also on the Kerouac. And I just asked the manager to comment on that.
As the Chancellor said, when we were discussing whether the bridge could stay or would need to be torn down, we left open the possibility that if it did have to come down, which obviously it's very clear now that it's always been the state's intention, and the state has designed the new bridge based upon the abutments of the old bridge, that it has to come down. But you'll have two very nice overlooks on each side of the river, one that could be near the university, near the North Campus, that could be dedicated to those veterans and lost their lives. And then on the other side, near the East Campus, you could have something that could honor the fact that Kerouac wrote about the bridge, and it played an important part in his works.
At this point, I'd just like to ask you, when these talks take place, if we could have a member of the veterans group. I know the university has a very large veterans group at this point, or veterans group from the city, sit in on the talks and have some say on how the...
Yeah, that would be great, and they probably could help participate with us in terms of, we obviously would have to raise money for it. We'd also look, maybe to look for state money, federal money, combination thereof.
And we've already had some preliminary conversations with the Veterans Council regarding that.
Great. We have about 5 more minutes before we have to... Does anyone on the subcommittee have any questions?
Chancellor, is the university exempt from permitting?
No.
Okay,
No.
We got our ducks in a row, do we not?
No, we have them in a row. As a matter of fact...
I'm not going to let this go any further.
When I was reading the paper, I thought to myself, we could be saving money. We even pay fees for the permits that we have, so...
I'm glad to hear that, thank
Right?
you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thought I'd just ask.
Just sort of in terms of wrapping, I guess a couple of comments that I would make is that we really have been working on a regular basis with the city on a number of ongoing projects. Beth gave a presentation on transportation. All of the planning that we are doing, even the signage that you see, were all done in conjunction with the city, meetings that we have on a continual basis, meetings with the National Park Service. We are in the process of, on Lot B, that the university bought from the city, We are looking at the possibility of developing that. We have a committee that's been put together. Our goal there is to try to get a hotel at that location. And in fact, I happened to meet with a hotel developer in Indianapolis recently, and he made a commitment to me that he'd come up and look at the site. The trolley that's been a lot written about is, again, a project that we're working with the city and the National Park Service. The university could end up being a major user of the trolley. So I think that in terms of how we coordinate what we're doing it, I think, more effectively and more collaboratively than the university and the city have ever worked together. I don't think there's been, and obviously there are time to time there are issues, and you know, the city has a perspective, the university has a perspective, but the reality is I think we're both in the position where we both know that what's good for the university is good for the city, and what's good for the city is good for the university. This project, the bridge over the Merrimack, is a great project, and it's going to dramatically change the landscape at that part of the city. And you can see the way that with the bridge construction, how beautiful that river is, and we're really excited about that. So these are kind of the projects that we have ongoing. There are other issues at some other time. Councilor Kennedy mentioned things like revenue. I would love the opportunity to come in and give my presentation of how much revenue actually the city gets from properties that we've made a decision to give up. For example, Lawrence Mills was a project that we gave up. So I'd love an opportunity, and also the revenue that's actually coming in from parking at the Tsongas Center. We've increased the number of people coming into that building, and that means revenue for the city in terms of parking. And I will comment that Chuck Carney, who does your parking, is he's more aggressive than either Bernie or I are in terms of making sure you increase his revenue. So I really think a lot of these projects are working better than maybe the public even knows, because revenue is increasing. I think that's it. If anyone has any comments on anything, I'd be glad to, on anything.
Councilor Kennedy, please.
Yeah. Chancellor Meehan, I want to just thank you for coming down here and making the presentation. It's a great presentation, and it's good to have an up-to-date view of what's going on up at the university and what the plans are. We didn't really spend, I guess I kind of just brushed over that marginal way, but that marginal way is kind of what I'm talking about, I think, in some ways. And what you're doing there is leasing rooms, right, or units?
Yeah, we have a 10-year lease agreement, and it would be likely that we would probably extend. We can only enter into a 10-year lease. It would be likely that we would extend, you know, for another 10 years. So, but it is a lease back, and it's the first time the university's ever tried to do that. And we're happy with it. The only thing that we're frustrated about is it should have been done 2 years ago.
When should that come on?
September of 2013. It's the same time that our other residents will come on.
And are you limited to 10 years by statute?
Yes, we can only enter a 10-year by legislation. But
can the lease have rollovers or options to extend?
There can be options, but they have to be at the discretion of the university.
Yeah. Okay.
The biggest impediment to doing these lease agreements, there are other parts of the country where they do these for universities, and they're very, very effective, but we have a lot of laws in Massachusetts that make these types of projects extremely difficult. To be honest with you, there are a lot of properties in downtown which, but for a number of statutes that exist, we would love to be downtown. We believe in downtown. We've invested in downtown, and we would love to do more private types, but there are impediments in terms of legislation and the law.
And just one final thing. I know we don't have that much time, but to go back to New Bedford, one of the things that UMass Dartmouth did is they put their art school down there. And that's really kind of what is revitalized that downtown. Has the university given any thought to placing a school downtown in one of the buildings? Let's say, for instance, in the district court or anywhere like that, when the courthouse moves into the new building.
Yeah, you mentioned the art department. We have been trying to get the art department to relocate downtown for some time. The art department at the university is separated into 2 different buildings, and the problem is that there are expenses associated with that. We would love to be able to, we think the art department, for example, would be the best department to move downtown. It'd be an opportunity to collaborate with the arts community downtown, so we would love to be able to do that, and it's something that we're open to. We've been talking about the possibility of that. There are a lot of other things we've had on the table. One of them is we're attracting 100 new students from China in September, and we're talking to the city because the group that's helping us expedite students coming from China, they're also looking for private housing. So we're working with the city to try to identify housing that students who come from China would assimilate in, spend a year with classroom housing, and would all pay taxes. So there are a number of ongoing projects, but I love the idea of the arts department downtown. And the district court is a building that we do have our eyes on.
Councilor
Thank you.
Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm so very proud of everything that's happening with the university. You have a vision, a dream, and it's succeeding. And we see like the birth of these buildings just going up, and that's all well and good. And I'm not expecting an answer today because it would probably take another half an hour to explain it, to answer it. But I'm very concerned with do we have enough jobs to sustain the students that are graduating? That to me is key. We can build all the buildings we want, and we can teach people how to do things, but if we don't have the jobs that complement their education, we're not going anywhere. And I want to know, but I'm not asking that today because I know that's probably that could probably be another presentation, but that concerns me greatly.
Yeah, it's a major concern, frankly, throughout this country, but I will give you the short answer to that. It's something that we focus on day in and day out. In fact, programs where there aren't jobs, we eliminate programs where we can. Where we feel that students aren't going to be able to get jobs, we eliminate those programs. We have programs like nursing, physical therapy, music, engineering. All of those fields, we have almost 100% of our students go out and get jobs in those fields. There was a study done by a group, Patty, what's the name of the .com, mid-career? Payscale.com does analysis every year, and 2 out of the last 3 years, UMass Lowell rated among the highest mid-year salaries of any public university in New England and 24th in the country. So we do have that focus. Even our research, we're a research institution. We have increased research expenditures by 64%. Our research has always focused on those technologies that have a high likelihood of commercialization. What does that mean? That means spin-off companies, bio and nano manufacturing. So that is our focus. I would love to do a separate meeting on that because it's a major challenge of education, higher education in this country. You know, when I read studies, Council, that say that parents in the United States discourage their kids from going into science and math and engineering, we have a real problem. It's a nationwide problem. We have to get our students so they're focused on those subject areas and those careers where there are going to be jobs afterwards. And it's one of the reasons why we do so many different programs in school systems with STEM and trying to get young people interested in science and engineering and math. But that represents, I think, the biggest challenge for higher education in this country. Getting skills that are going to result in jobs.
And the spin-off from that is those students have an education, a trade, and then they open a business in the city. So that, to me, is the going full circle. So thank you.
Anyone else? We're running out of time here. Nope.
Great. Well, thanks for the opportunity. And again, I'd be glad to come down, and so would the team, anytime to give her.
Well, Chancellor, I mean, we're sitting here tonight, and this partnership is only going to expand over the next couple of years. So 2 suggestions I'd like to make tonight. One is we don't, when we have these partnership subcommittee meetings, let's not stay here in City Hall. Let's move out to the university. It's my understanding Cumnock Hall can carry a live feed, and we'd be more than happy to come out to the university, which would allow the citizens of Pawtuckaville especially to come to the meetings, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that would be great. We had a meeting actually we had a meeting last night at the trustees' room at Cumnock Hall. But we would be we'd love to host a meeting, and frankly, let me put an invitation out to all city councilors and the mayor and everyone from the city. Tours of our new buildings, would be glad to give tours of these new facilities. You would be very, very proud of what's going on in the construction of both of our new academic buildings.
That's great. And the other point I'd like to say is tonight we're not going to adjourn this meeting. I know you want to come back. We want to keep in touch what's going on in the university. Tonight we're going to recess this. So as you said, you want to come back. This meeting will be open at any time for either party to call back at any time, and we can have the subcommittee.
Not after midnight, though.
What's that?
Not after midnight.
No. Well, before we adjourn tonight, I'd just like to, you do have one member of your staff who's also a resident of this city who's going to be on it very shortly down in New York, and that's Victoria Denoon. She's going to be on it by the Irish for the top 40 under 40. And it's for individuals who are under 40, making a name for themselves as role models who are proud of their Irish heritage. And she's going to be on it down in New York, and I just want to say congratulations to the university.
Thank you. Victoria's done a fabulous job. We are establishing international partnerships. We're attracting more students from a number of countries, including the Republic of Ireland and the North of Ireland. And Victoria has headed up our efforts, and she's done a fabulous job. And thank you for recognizing her.
This meeting's recessed until it's called upon by either party. Thank you.
Motion to recess, seconded. Okay, thank you.